Hi everyone, welcome to this very special episode of The Witcher Legacy. We are doing the last of our prologue with Kika. I'll let her introduce her character, but I am Wandering DM. I'll be GMing our game, and without further ado, let's introduce our last character for these prologues. Kika, hi, who are you and who are you playing?
Hi, I am Kika. I am a tabletop game designer and other things. I'm not going to go into the full list because it's very long. I am playing the elf mage, who's also a trans woman. And should I just straight up tell her secret?
You might want to keep those secrets if you want to, or you can tell everyone if you want to. I mean, I expect that everybody else will not meta about it, so it is up to you. How burning are these secrets?
Oh, are do the other players watch these?
They might.
I'll I'll tell the audience what the secret is, but any players, just skip ahead a little bit. Um, Venn Hemmelig is actually a raven who has figured out how to transform herself into an elf.
And now for players watching, you can start here. Um, my camera's wonky, so I apologize if I lag a bit. It seems like I'm skipping frames, even though we're not on Twitch at the moment. Anyway, so let us begin quite a few years ago, before our campaign. How old is Venn again?
At the start of the campaign,
Yeah,
27.
so we're going back not that far back in the past. Going back about 5 years. We're in 1263. The Second War with Nilfgaard is over. There's a tentative peace in the land, but it doesn't stop people from being, well, assholes for the most part. It doesn't stop bandits from preying upon travelers. It doesn't stop deserters from forming bands of mercenaries to attack settlements and raids like they were still at war. But right now, we're going to focus our attention to the small elven dukedom of, sorry, not dukedom, but territory of Dol Blathana, in the Valley of Flowers, on the outskirts of Dol Blathana, near the country of Edern. A small group of bandits have gathered around near a lone farm. It's far away from any settlement. The person who owns the farm is either very brave or very foolish. The bandits have turned to banditry because of need more than anything, of desperation, of hunger. This farm is part of the King of Edern's farms. It belongs to the king. It is on the king's lands. It doesn't go to feed peasants in some village or remote place. It doesn't help to feed the family that owns the farm. It mostly just goes to feed the fat pigs that are at the top of the food chain. And that's where we meet our small group of brethrens by misfortune more than anything. Venn, I would like to know, as one of the members of this group, what do you look like back then?
Um, I think then would have been wearing more concealing clothing to keep herself like not. She wouldn't be as flamboyant in her presentation as she is later on. She's probably wearing a cloak and very like humble tunic and maybe like a skirt or a dress, something along those lines, just very generic, um, whatever like anyone else would be wearing on the street sort of thing. She would still have her very long black kind of very messy hair with like some beads braided into it here and there. I think this would be before her ear got torn, so both her elf ears would be kind of like sticking out a bit. She has a sort of longer face with a long nose, and she looks kind of dirty, but like not like gross dirty, but more like you know how some people just like fall in the dirt and they just look fabulous doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, she looks like one of those people.
You are accompanied by the other members of your little group. They go by simple names. They've issued family names or titles. Most of them do not want to be tied back to their families or their place of origin. Outcasts for the most part. Elves, all of them. With you is a fierce woman by the name of Shirimni. She is a tall elven warrior. Went to the war all those years ago and came back alive. She's not part of the Skoyatel. She refused entry into that group. Instead, she tried to go back home. Unfortunately, people in Dolbathana didn't take her return quite the way she expected. And having lost everything, she turned to banditry. Shirimni is bald. She shaved all of her hair off. She normally affections war paint on her face to make her look fiercer, make her look more intimidating. And she dresses still in this old chain shirt that she's had ever since the war, under a long sort of leather coat that reaches down to her ankles. With her is also Ilar, her cousin, Ilar, if you need to spell it. I guess it would be pronounced Ilar, probably. I'll go with Ilar. Ilar is a short elf, young. Did not participate in the war, but through many failed endeavors, ended up indebted. Thank you. To I need more coffee. To a Havakar merchant. Havakars are they're called Havakar is the elven word, the elder speech word for hawk. And they're basically smugglers and merchants who will sell to the Skoyatel specifically. They're humans for the most part, fueling the war between the different races. And they profit off of it. And Ilar is, unfortunately, was roped up into that. And now owes a lot of crowns. You've heard the number 3,000. You've heard 1,500. You're not quite sure, but regardless, 1,500 crowns is a whole lot. More than what people can see in their whole life. The third member is Vuse. V-U-S-E. A silent type of person, she does not speak much. When she does, however, it's always almost in a whisper, as if she's afraid to bother anyone when talking. She's got long auburn hair that she has braided, and then the braid is always like on her side, like a fishtail braid. Um, Green eyes, though one green and one gray eye, which is a remarkable physical trait for an elf. But otherwise, keeps to herself. She's a fan of the crossbow. For other elves, though, this is strange because the bow has this like noble tradition, this root in past history and all that, and she's decided to say fuck all that and go with the like mechanical creations of dwarves and other human tinkerers. And the last member of your group, the leader of the group, well, self-styled leader of the group, is Girath. Girath, by the way, go by they/them pronouns. The others are, Shirimni is she/her, Ilar is he/him, Views is she/her, and Girath is they/them. And Girath apparently used to be a dancer and a minstrel at the court of Queen Findabair, Francesca Findabair. And something happened, and they decided it was better for them to hide and never show their face at court ever again. They're still fueled by patriotism, and what they do and the people that they suggest the group strike out against are often enemies of the crown of Doblathana. Whether they're like personal enemies that Girath know because they overheard something while they were at court all those years ago, or just like this strike in Edern, might just be because of like some sort of love for either the queen or the country. And basically the job today is to raid a farm. Well, hopefully under the cover of night. Or the cover of day. That's up to you. If it is during the day, they will need someone to create a diversion. Which would probably fall for unto Vens.
I think night might be a better choice, because most of what I do isn't... It's impressive, but it's not very showy. Unless you want me to summon ghosts. I don't think anyone wants me to summon ghosts.
No, not really. But definitely, if you suggest night instead, Girath is probably the most social and outgoing of all of you. But even then, they would rather wait for nightfall. So unless Venn said like specifically, so you wait until nightfall, and it's a few hours. You manage to see, like, spy upon the family that operates the farm. It's not just a single family. There seems to be quite a number of serfs working the land along with the farmer. The main farmer whose house this belongs to, a small cottage made of field stone and a tiled roof, which is but testament to their wealth, doesn't work. They instead direct the other peasants to their work. All day, this farmer, tall, bulky individual, wearing a wide-brimmed straw hat, a beige shirt, brown pants, They've been keeping to the shade for the most part of the day, just directing other people whose backs are bent through hours and days of working in the field. But they themselves don't do anything.
Simon,
By
I have a question.
yes.
Are we going to seize the means of production? Is that what we're doing?
No, because you're actually stealing from them and not redistributing to anybody else.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, your group needs to feed itself. And
True, I guess.
unless Venn wants to seize the means of production, that's up to you.
I think Venn would be interested in that, but is aware that you need to, put on your own mask before helping others.
Yes, and I think while you're thinking about that, like your stomach growls in anticipation of what you can find. As the sun sets, most of the workers leave. You know that there's a village about an hour away. So they probably walk like an hour to and fro every day for work. And a small family of 5 goes to sleep in their cottage. The light stays on for a while after the sun is set. And then, when the moon is about at its zenith, Jurat turns to the 4 of you and says, "Think the time to strike is now." Oh, by the way, this is all in Elder speech.
Thank you. Now I know to speak in Elder speech. I'm sorry, I'd assumed I was just being a butt.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So do you have a plan?
They have a granary. We've seen them go in and out. I haven't seen any carts laden with food leave the farm. If they have a horse, perhaps we can tie it to a cart and then make our way out with it, silently if possible. He says, "Views, Ilar, you take point, you watch, warn us if anything happens. Venn, you, Shirimni, and myself. We go and we take what we can. Focus on anything that's light and anything that'll feed us for a while. I might decide to go into the house. Take a quick peek at what valuables they have and maybe relieve them of things that we can trade for goods and equipment. Are we all in agreement?"
If you're going to be going off into the house, I think we should probably establish some sort of signal in case there's trouble.
Whippoorwill?
Whippoorwill.
Then let's go. And I'm going to ask you to make your first roll of this prologue, which would be a stealth check as you sneak to the house. Yes.
Not my best. 14. I am willing to put some luck into that, though, if need be.
Sure. Well, know that the DC is going to be a 21.
That's 8. That's all my luck.
It's up to you. Do you or do you not?
No, I don't. I'm going to hold on to my luck because I think starting off with some trouble is exciting.
As you approach the farm from the back, you did not notice during the day, but there are a number of dogs watching the farm and the compound at night. 3 of them, in fact. Big guard dogs. As an elf, you don't really disturb animals. But they have seen you. And they smell. And they keep an eye out, a wary eye. You have the feeling that so long as you keep your distance to the farm, they're not gonna do anything. But if you approach too close, they might start barking. Maybe not as like a means to warn you off. Or to, as like an aggressive bark. It might be an excited bark. But it would be a bark nonetheless.
And I imagine suddenly turning into a bird would get them all riled up.
I mean, bird is a toy.
Yeah. What do I have? What's the terrain and like the layout of the area like?
Oh, if you want to take a look at the map, I'll freehand something on a map.
Okay.
It's gonna look basic, but here you have your granary. I'll just put it G. This is the house. They have like the dogs, like the dog houses here. Behind the house, they have a chicken coop. And the field for their own garden extends about this. And anywhere past this field to what would be your right on the map is like the field that belonged to the king. So like the immense tilling fields that people worked in.
Are these dogs like chained up or in like kept in any way, or are they just like free to do what have you?
They are kept on a rope. They're not chained, but they have like a rope tied to a collar. And then it's tied down to a post near the dog house.
What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe try to use telekinesis to move something to try to catch the dog's attention, but like not do it in a way that would get the dog riled up. It would just sort of like make the dog like instinctively look at it and then use that distraction to sort of duck out behind something.
There are enough, like small stones and stuff like that lying around, like a broken branch or what have you, that you could throw with telekinesis. I'm just going to ask you to make a spellcasting check.
Yeah, something I'm good at. Hopefully.
Yeah, so long as you don't fumble, you're good.
That is a crit. Let me crit. See how big this crit is. It's my critter fumble. That is a 26 total.
Yeah, you're fine. You move the stone and then let it fall down elsewhere. All 3 of the dogs look in that direction very quickly. That gives you enough time to dart up north and to the side, like hide on the side of the granary.
And it's not a graceful run. It's like in like a comedy movie where a person just like suddenly bolts when they're like in a compromising situation.
Yeah, giraffe definitely Naruto runs because it's faster.
Oh no. Do elves just canonically Naruto run?
I think that's what it's gonna be now. So you
From
make your
the Hidden Leaf Village.
mad dash to the side of the granary. It's basically an old like barn that's been like renovated into like a warehouse because this farm is a vegetable farm primarily. It's a crop farm and not a like a ranch, if you will. So they don't really have a lot of animals. There's a handful in the barn, but most of it is like has been retrofitted as a warehouse. And yeah, you Girath at this point says, "I'll go around. I'll enter the house from the front. I'll try not to rile up the dogs. But I'll wait until you're inside. So that way, if things go south, we still have some sort of loot to come out of this with."
Okay, stay safe. Be careful. I'll be very upset if you don't come out of this completely unharmed.
I am confident in my abilities, and I've jumped in and out of windows enough that... Well, that's a whole other story. I'll see you in a few moments. Shirimni looks to you and says, how do you want to do this? Do we just carry what we can in our arms, or do we find a way to carry more?
Finding a way to carry as much as possible is ideal, but we shouldn't spend too much time on that. It's most important that we're fast.
Okay. Ready when you are.
Okay, let's go.
You sneak into the barn. The door was barred from the outside, mainly to prevent animals from fleeing. It's easy enough to move the bar and let the people in, let the two of you in. As you enter, you notice there are two oxens to your right. They're in an enclosure inside. There are no horses. However, there is a cart. A four-wheeled cart. Big enough to carry, like, would be big enough to carry the whole group of you. Probably needs the two oxens to be pulled properly with. And then the other half of the barn is just barrels and sacks and crates of food. You believe, looking at this, that they've harvested today. They probably harvested yesterday. And they're most likely going to leave for King, I think it's Demavend in Adern. Give me 2 seconds. I keep mistaking the two, but I think it's King Demavend. Yeah, King Demavend the Third, who's the king of Edern, so to his court. Like, they would probably leave to his court, for his court, very, very soon. Shirimni. Yeah?
I was just going to end character talk.
Oh, yeah.
Shirimni, do you think you could get the cart set up? I can start moving the loot, as it were.
I can get them. Yeah, I can do that.
Good.
I say that, but I need to roll. Yeah, she's good. She's able to handle the animals herself. And 2 seconds.
We'll just edit this out later.
It was a cat.
Ooh. Fancy. It's very lucky.
So, yeah, she's able to handle the animals enough to get them ready in front of the cart, even though it's like not the time for them, like they should be sleeping, but she's able to rouse them and all that.
Yeah, and I am going to immediately start using telekinesis to help move things into the cart.
Shit.
Much faster. What?
Well, I was going to ask you for like a physique test or something, but yeah, I forgot you can do that.
Yeah, well, I'm probably going to be using both telekinesis and like my arms go as fast as possible.
Your telekinesis is, I think, like 5 pounds per point of stamina or something like that.
Yeah.
So you have. I'm gonna ask you to roll, just in case you fumble.
Spellcasting roll?
Yeah, spellcasting roll.
Okay. 17.
Not a fumble, so there's no problem. You move the crates have. Crates and barrels would be 4 to 5 encumbrance, and the sacks would be like 2. So long as your spellcasting is at least a 4 or a 5, which I think it is, you have no problem moving them. What's your spellcasting skill?
My spellcasting skill is a 4.
Oh, okay. Then in that case,
you said 4 or 5, I would have no trouble moving.
Yeah, that's it. So some of them you kind of need to like hold them a bit.
Yeah.
To like reinforce your telekinesis, because otherwise you're straining yourself. But otherwise, yeah, there's no problem, and you can load them at a fairly rapid pace.
Yeah, even with the things that I have an easy time with, I'm probably like pushing them as well just to go faster.
I'd say, since you're going fast,
I'm going fast because I can levitate the things so they don't make noise.
Yeah. Roll 3d10.
Okay.
That's going to be the amount of crates and or sacks and or barrels that you before something happens.
14.
14 of them.
Can I add luck to this?
Yeah, sure.
I'm greedy.
If you're lucky enough, yeah.
I'm going to add 2 luck to this.
Okay. So you're hurriedly putting everything onto the cart and loading it up as much as you can. You fill the cart about to like 3/4 of its capacity. And then you hear the dogs barking. And you hear a soft but rapid sound of a whippoorwill.
Okay. Shine, gotta go.
All right. And she gets on the cart and starts making that motion with the reins to get the oxens moving, and they begin to get out of the barn, and this farmer comes out yelling after, like, "You thief, you robbers in the night, I will teach you," and he levels a crossbow at Shiramni and you.
Can I use my telekinesis to sort of like wrench the crossbow to the side to mess up his aim?
Yeah, so what we'll do is, instead of like dodging, I'll let you use spellcasting as your defense.
Oh, my dodge is a bit. Oh wait, it's the same. Okay, that's fine. Flavor-wise, this is more accurate to what you would do.
Yeah. And I have a. Okay. So the number to beat is a 14.
16.
Yep. So he levels the crossbow, and at the very last moment, it moves out of like range and fires into the night. And he keeps yelling as like he goes back inside, and you're probably sure that like he's going to get more bolts or something. And you hear him rouse his sons. Like, "To arms, my boys! Elves have come to steal from us! Get them! Get them all! Bring me back their heads!"
Am I able to like get eyes on any of the other group members?
Behind the farm, quite some ways away, both Views and Ilar are standing up, bows at the ready to fire. And you can see that their bows are at the ready because the arrows are on fire.
So they plan to burn this place down. Mixed feelings.
They haven't fired, though.
Yeah. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try to cause a distraction by actually starting a fire myself, but in a place that I know is going to be more controlled, so it wouldn't burn everything down.
I suppose with Enye,
With what?
the spell.
I'd be using Cadfin's grasp on arrows and firing the arrows into like. I don't know much about farms.
There's an old pile of like cow dung nearby.
Yeah, I'll get that.
That you can fire into. It's gonna stink like shit, but it's probably not going to spread farther than this, and it's gonna make quite the explosion.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
It's gonna be flashy more than anything. So you fire your Cadfan's arrow into your into the pile of dung. It goes flying. It hits, and then after a second, the pile just goes flying high, like with like flames, because methane, flames jutting out in the night. And with the cover of that explosion, you make your way out with the oxen, trying to Shirini, doing her best to try to get the oxen to go as fast as possible. And we're gonna fade out on this. This actually happened 6 months ago. After the events of the farm, bad luck. You think it began with the farm. Bad luck befell the group, and you were hunted down and had to run away from Edern. Not really welcome in Dol Blathana anymore because of what you did. You've upsetted the tenuous alliance between Edern and Queen Findabear. So the group made its way south to Lyra. To Lyra and Rivia. To live in relative comfort, thanks to all the food that you got. By the way, I said 6 months ago, those 16 barrels, they lasted you, like, because, food goes bad, but you've managed to trade a lot of it, make a small fortune, and you're still living off of those funds 6 months later. It's not great, but you eat your fill. Everyone has a bedroll, everyone has a blanket, and you spend your nights sleeping in old ruins on the edge of a marsh in Lyria. And that's when we're gonna pick back up. It's been 6 months. The group is laid low. And you are awakened tonight by a distant sound of humans trying to be stealthy, to not make noise. Your keen ears have picked it up, a big group of them, like horses, wheels, even. Whoever it is, they're not afraid to travel by night. And they are coming towards the ruins.
Oh gosh, I will rouse the others. Um, Tell them there's humans coming. I don't know much. I was gonna go check, but I wanted to make sure everybody was all on the same page before I went.
Um, Ilar, who's the first to wake up? I'm on watch. I'm not sleeping.
No, no, you're not. You're fine. You're perfect, Ilar. Don't ever change.
Okay. What were you saying?
Humans are coming.
Oh shit! And like he clambers to get his bow. How I knew, but just I saw two. How many are they?
Less explaining. Get the others. There's at least a cart. There's quite a few. Given the numbers, they either really want us dead or they don't care about us at all.
I hope it's the latter.
Yes, me too. That's why I want you to get everyone else, somewhere safe while I check things out.
Okay. And he will proceed to do that while you clamber out of the ruins. Think of those ruins like an old um, amphitheater,
Yeah.
like smaller than an amphitheater, with like a broken down roof over where the stage would have been. So it's you're sleeping under the stars in a way, but you still have a semblance of roof if it rains or anything. But it is built like inside the like into the ground basically.
Yeah. I want to sort of like go up one of the sides and sort of get a place where I can sort of hunker down and keep an eye on the space. Given that it's an amphitheater, if any of them go in, I will be able to see them very clearly. Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm. Um, you see, it is a small column of soldiers, roughly 20 to 30. Even though you're an elf, like you don't, we're not in D&D where you have like dark vision and all that. Like you can see better in the dark than others, but it's you have trouble making out how many silhouettes you see. But it's 30 at most. Most of them on horseback, and there's a wagon that they're pulling, more like a carriage than a wagon, and it looks regal. And it's just passing. It will pass close to the amphitheater, but they're following a path like on the outskirt of the swamps, trying not to go deeper into the more like marshy lands where their horses and their carriage would probably get bogged down.
Okay. So they're clearly like passing through.
Yeah, they're passing through.
Okay. I will given that we've been together for a while, I would assume we have like like a system of like signals
Oh, yeah.
established. Yeah, so I will probably give a signal to it's okay, but still stay hidden, and then another one for I'm going to investigate further. So with that, I will then I'm gonna sneak after them and maybe turn into a bird and fly after that carriage because I'm very curious. And that carriage looks like it probably has some shiny stuff.
Yes. The carriage itself, even under the moonlight, you can see the shiny bits on it. You transform into a bird and start flying after the carriage. People don't pay you any mind because you're a dark bird on a dark background. And
I'm hard to spot. If they knew much about ravens, they know that they're not nocturnal, so it would be odd one might think it might be like an omen of some sort, but that also might make them less inclined to do anything violent towards me.
Mm-hmm. And for the most part, for how aware they seem to be, they might easily think you're an owl.
Hmm.
They don't seem to like when you flew above them, a few of them like lifted their heads up and looked around, but you noticed that like their eyes weren't following you, so they probably didn't even see you. Like they heard but couldn't see. Um
Are there any windows on this carriage?
yes, think like it's more like a stagecoach.
Hmm.
If you want to see like kind of like get an idea of what it looks like, think of a stagecoach.
Well, if they
So
don't really seem to be looking out for me, I Zen is very curious. She's just like 90% curiosity. So she's going to fly down to that stagecoach and like perch like right on one of those windows.
make another sneak check, stealth check, just to see if you alert anyone landing on the coach.
She will swoop ever so gracefully with I'll put some luck into that if need be.
Well, I was thinking of an average DC, so a 14.
Okay, I'll slap some 3 luck into that.
Okay. So yeah, you managed to land on without like any of the people around the coach noticing. Inside the coach is a figure sleeping, a woman sitting, but like, you know, uh, oof, words tonight. Leaning on the side of the coach, a small like cushion, propping her head up so that it doesn't bang on the coach every time it hits a bump in the road. And she's covered in a fur cloak and seems to be asleep. In front of her, on the other side, the other seats, lies a gorgeous, long, slightly curved blade, clearly elven in origin. It's called an elven messer, and it is in a scabbard. The scabbard itself has been inscribed in many different runes, and you can almost hear the metal inside the scabbard, like the steel blade, sing.
Oh gosh. I have to look at this sword. Like I'm not going to take it. I just need to look at it and know everything about it and read these runes. It's just so exciting.
You
Hop inside.
hop inside. Do you turn back into an elf or do you stay?
I'm a bird.
Okay.
I I am at least smart enough to know that surprise elf in human carriage is not going to go well.
Yeah. Um you look at the blade. Can you make a magical training check for me, please?
Magical training.
Yeah.
This is not spell casting. This would be
It's your profession skill.
yeah. Where is that? It doesn't. Oh, right there. I needed to. Okay, 22.
Um. All right, give me 2 seconds. So you know it to be magic and covered in runes, but it's the exact runes that I'm looking for. There it is. Elven Messer. Okay. Oh, come on. Am I frozen? Kika?
You mean your camera? Your camera's fine.
Okay.
It's just like there's a little bit of stutter, but it's fine.
Okay,
You're
because
moving, you're
my
good.
entire computer lagged for a second.
Yeah. It's just your camera has like a slightly lower frame rate than mine right now.
Well, yeah, but that's...
Yeah.
I know why, and can't fix it right now. I'll fix it at break, though. Yeah, it's got a few runes on it. You can make out a Svarog rune, which means that this blade can pierce through armor like it was butter. And there's a Morana rune on it. Morana is the rune of poison. Wounds inflicted by this blade do not heal easily, if they heal at all.
Gosh, this is a nasty weapon. Given that it's very clearly like something that would mess you up, and it's also elven, maybe I might have be able to sort of figure out where it came from more specifically, like get an idea.
Yeah, sorry, you got a 22. For some reason, I thought 12.
No,
Yes,
22.
you know the name of the blade. It is called Sihil. Sihil. And I'll tell you more about the blade when we come back from break. Alright, I'll be right back. And, oops, need to mute. So we'll be right back in about 5 minutes, everyone. And we are back. So, you were looking at the sword Sihil with the 2 runes on it. You still haven't made enough noise to bother or alert anyone of your presence. Though you're still a short burb, you can't
Ravens
really...
aren't that short.
No, but I mean, you're not big enough to,
Yeah.
like, pull the sword out of its scabbard.
And I'm not going to. I'm not I don't know that I want to try to steal it. I'm just very intrigued by it. I might like peck at it a little bit here and there, maybe nudge it around some, get an idea of like what its weight and balance is from that, but that's just mostly to satisfy my own curiosity. And then I might look back at this sleeping person and start looking to see if they have any obvious jewelry that I might be able to steal.
By the way, I said Sihil, but it is not Sihil. That is my mistake. Sihil is Geralt's sword. I mistook one sword for another. This one actually has another name, and I will...
Well, you know what they say, Simon.
What?
It's not the name that counts, it's how you use it.
It is the Moonblade.
And this person is a human, and they have a very elven sword,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, an elven messer.
I'd like to get like a better look at this human and like actually like spend some time sizing them up.
Sure. What you... Do you mean, like, human perception as they sleep to try to find out, like, from their, like, countenance, how they sleep, how they hold themselves, how they breathe and all that, like, who could they be? Or you're just looking at, like, what could be interesting, like, visually? Basically, I'm asking,
Both.
do you want to do, like, aware... Okay, so which one would you want to do first? Awareness or human perception?
I think human perception first, because I want to assess if I think they like get an idea of how immediately dangerous they would be should they wake up, you know?
Okay. Then go ahead and make your roll.
14.
The person in front of you is clearly a warrior. They sleep, but you notice that their breathing is like rhythmic and slow. Like it's more like a meditation than an actual sleep. They are human, though. You realize that, you know, just looking at like the side of their neck, when you see like the heartbeat through the veins, it's not like the weird heartbeat of a witcher, for example. And you can see clearly that they're not elves because pointy ears, or dwarves because of just like their size, or halfling for that matter. They're also they bear a scar across their face, which means that they fought before, for sure. But the scar is healed very, very well. And not that it's almost transparent, but like there was magic involved in that healing. So it's probably someone that has access to some wealth, or the services of a mage. Judging by the size of the sword and what it is, you believe that this person is probably a tad more graceful than your usual swordsman. But that's all you can glean out of your human perception before the person's eyes flutter open. And they narrow at you.
I cock my head and try to act as natural as possible.
Make a deception check, but I'm gonna give you a +3 to that.
Because I'm a fucking bird.
Because you're a bird.
Okay, so 3.
Yeah.
Sealed knit, 17.
The person just like moves the cloak aside and tries to shoo you with her hand. Just like get away, bird.
Sort of hop back and flap, and then I don't want to make enough noise to alert the guards, but I do want to like make like a sort of low grumbling like caw of disapproval at her shooing.
Mishimoto's just don't you dare fucking peck at me while I'm sleeping. And she goes back to sleep.
Oh gosh, now she's feeling mischievous. Then is like going to like immediately like walk really close to her and like lean in and get like a really close look at her.
She, as a like human, because I don't know what Venn's like. What does Venn think of humans?
Then probably hasn't really had too much direct exposure to humans. It's mostly just she stays with her group, given that she doesn't really trust people immediately, even though she's very friendly. She's very slow to form attachments, so she ends up just socializing with her like main group for the most part, and that has been the group of bandits. So most of what she knows of humans is things that she picked up from them and from her mentor. But she also doesn't really have much animosity towards them because she still is very much like identifies as a raven.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have like this link to the history of like elves and humans. I've posted a link to like a portrait of her if you want, but the description is thus: she is a tall and powerfully built woman. She has the face of someone who's been physically active for most of her life. A well-defined cheekbones. A small, slightly curved nose. Arched eyebrows. A scar that runs from the side of her ear down her face and across her lip like this. But like I said, most of it is healed. She's very beautiful. She has this sort of like the dirt and the shit of the world cannot find their place on her. Like, she seems to be the type of person that, not that she hasn't lived through like turmoil and problems and whatever, but like whatever it is, she has access to a bath regularly.
She's too rich to get dirty.
Basically. But she is wearing, when you saw her move the fur cloak out, she's wearing the same thing that you saw on the picture. So dark brown breeches, high riding boots, and a sleeveless gambazon of dark greens and blues.
I like that there's a raven in the background of this picture.
Yeah, I didn't see it at the first time, but yeah. And the sword that you see on the picture is an elven messer.
Yeah. Yeah, I caught that. Um, well, she told me not to peck at her. So I'm not going to peck at her.
But
Does she have any like pockets or pouches?
on the floor of the coach, there's like a bandolier and a small sling bag. But it's not on
She,
her.
yeah, she will definitely like hop down there and like sort of like peck at it and like try to work it open with her beak.
Make a just a D10 plus your dexterity.
D10 plus dex.
Yeah.
There's a button for that.
And you got it. You managed to pry open one of the pouches on the bandolier. And inside are two rings made of gold. One has a small jewel on it. The other one is flat and has some inscriptions on the top.
Can I like recognize kind of roughly what these inscriptions are?
Yes. You need to bring the ring out of the pouch to look at it like under the moonlight. But it's the coat of arms of the royal family of Lyria.
Hmm. I'm gonna be cheeky and like slip that on my little bird ankle, and then I'm gonna like take the other ring and like hop up and like just drop it on her lap.
And she like stirs awake again. She goes like, "What are you? Hey!" And like the A is very like louder than what I can do here at the moment. But she grabs the ring that you dropped on her lap, and then she like tries to grab you. And she goes in quite fast. Do you attempt to dodge?
I think I will. Yeah.
All right, the DC to beat is 25.
I doubt I'm gonna be. We will see. 18.
Do you have 7 point of luck to spend?
Even if I did, I kind of don't want to.
Okay. So she grabs you very like a cat almost, like just snatch, and takes the ring off. Like, and she's careful to remove it, like not to hurt you. Do you try to like squirm out of her grasp?
Honestly, no. I think I. She just kind of like once she's being held and like the lady's like taking the ring off, then she's just gonna like lightly peck at her hand.
It's like, ow! If you know what's good for you, bird, you would
It
stop
it
that.
wouldn't hurt. It would just be like a poke.
Oh, okay, just a poke.
Yeah.
And as she's holding you and like removing the ring, she goes, "Well, at least you're not squirming. These are mine. I know they're shiny, but they're mine. Now, get gone." And she puts them back in the pouch.
Am I able to talk while a bird? Like I know like I can like bird like ravens are capable of mimicking speech, but I'm wondering like how much eloquence I'm capable of.
Not a whole lot. I would say you're able, like, you probably wouldn't be able to hold up a conversation as a bird. You could use telepathy if you wanted to.
I don't have telepathy. I have
Oh,
telekinesis.
yeah, no, that's different. Uh, I'd say you could probably form like short 2 to 3, 4 word sentences. like with
Okay, well,
short words.
I'll just say no thanks.
She sits up and says, "If you're a sorcerer come from my life, I will give you one warning. You do not mess with Meave and stay alive."
She wants to give a complicated answer, but she's a bird right now. She's being held.
Oh no, she released you.
Oh, she let.
Yeah.
Okay.
She put you back on the like windowsill.
Okay. Um. She just kind of like shakes her head a little bit and says, "No." Uh, she kind of just like hops back in and sort of like she definitely looks very visibly like she's very clear like trying to like think of what to do. And it looks like she's like getting caught up, like so caught up in her own thoughts that she like almost completely forgot like the stakes of the situation she's in, and she's kind of like pacing back and forth inside this stagecoach.
She like reclines on the seat and crosses her arms and looks at you amused and goes, "So are you?" And then she gets cut off by one of the guards, comes in and says, "My lady, is everything all right?"
I freeze and like turn my head and look at him.
And Meave turns and says, "Yes, just the road is getting to me. Do you think we still have long to get to where we need to go? To get to the sanctuary?" He says, "A few more days at most, my lady. We, if your majesty would wish it, we could also stop at night to make camp. The men are tired." And she said, "No. This needs to be done, and it needs to be done quickly, and I need to be back in court as soon as possible. Thank you." So you look like a trained bird. That's interesting. You, know of any tricks?
Just sort of like bow my head.
You're already more polite than a lot of the people that I keep company with.
Oh, at that, then I will give like a full flourishy bow.
My. My. You are precious, aren't you?
I nod.
You don't seem to have any necklaces, any indication of who you belong to. Are you lost?
I shake my head.
I am surprised at how good your Nordling is. I'd almost think you're a spy. Then what do you want? Aside from my rings?
She sort of just she cocks her head, thinks for a moment, and then says, "Pen or quill would it be?"
Wow.
Well,
Um,
can I use my telekinesis while I'm a bird? Is a very
yes.
important question. Okay.
Uh, wait.
Yes.
2 seconds.
Okay.
Because there is a thing in your skills that determines if you're able to cast without base 10 you can cast gestures. What's your you said 4 in spellcasting, right?
Yeah.
And what's your will stat?
My will stat is a 9.
So that's a 13. You can cast spells with reasonable grace and require incantations only for difficult and complex spells.
Yeah, and this is a novice spell.
Okay, and there was another... So I think you're good. Find telekinesis. Complex actions like picking a lock, which would be probably what writing would be like.
Oh, I can write with my beak.
But it would be at a -5.
I can just write with my beak.
Well, that too.
So I guess I would ask for ink.
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 She goes into her sling bag and gets out like a small vial of ink, and she says, "You have come to steal ink. You're a very peculiar bird. No doubt a familiar. Well, here." And she puts it next to you and says, "Tell your master or whoever."
She just immediately starts like trying to uncork the bottle and like get her beak in it so she can get some ink on her beak so she can write.
Can you make a perform check? I think perform is a skill. It's perform or performance.
Yeah. 14.
14. Yeah, she manages to like understand what you're trying to do. And she bends over and like uncorks it and holds it in her hand because, you know, bouncy road, she doesn't want to get ink everywhere. And she gets a small sheet of parchment. There's scribbles on it already, like dates and places that have been barred out or checked. And she puts it in front of you.
And then like dips beak in ink and then writes, "May I transform ? Hard to talk as a bird."
I knew you were a wizard. Mage or something. She puts a finger up and moves her head out of the carriage and says, "I'm feeling rather unwell. I would need to stop for a moment." Everything stops to a halt. The entire column stops. She corks the bottle, puts it back into her bag, puts her finger like this, close to you.
I look at it
like
and
a
then
perch.
cock my head. Okay. And like hop on.
And she hides you in her cloak. She kicks open the stage door and gets out and says, "Give me just a few moments." And she heads down like a hill on the side of the road, like down into where the swamp is.
I don't see why she's hiding me. One of the guards have already seen me.
After a certain distance, she like puts you down on the ground, says, folds her arms, Says, I am armed. Don't try anything stupid.
Well, first, I'm gonna wipe this ink off my beak in the grass.
Oh, yeah. Because then you show up and you're like all black around
Yeah.
the face.
Yeah. And then I will just poof into Venn, in my elf form, and just say, it is remarkably difficult to hold a conversation in my natural form. Thank you very much. Hello. I was just curious, and I my curiosity got a bit away from me, and I wanted to apologize for that. I mean you no harm, and I have no idea what you're doing, and honestly, I think it is best if I don't know.
You're wise for a bird woman.
Well, ravens, I am told, are known to be intelligent, so I don't see why that would come as a surprise.
I've never met one of your kind before.
You've never met a raven?
I've met ravens. I've never met a raven that could transform into a person.
Oh, it's just a coincidence.
A very useful coincidence.
Well, it really depends on what sort of lifestyle you want to lead, I suppose.
Believe you me, some days I would like to just fly away and leave everything behind.
Oh, if I had a spell, I would definitely offer that. It's very nice to fly.
I bet it is. So tell me, do you have a name? Or should I call you Bird Person?
Oh, well. I imagine you can call me whatever you like, but most people call me Venn.
And Venn it is.
And who might I have the honor and pleasure of being in the presence of?
Queen Meve of Lyria and Rivia.
Well, it is an honor to make the acquaintance of one so clearly noble as yourself.
And you bow?
Yes.
Okay.
And hope she doesn't decide to cut off my head while I'm bowing.
She doesn't. You notice that she has a dagger, at her side, but she hasn't drawn it or anything. And you were curious about my company, I guess?
Ah, yes, you're passing by, and I could tell that you were trying to be quiet, but you weren't quite being quiet enough, and that piqued my curiosity.
We're trying to be fast more than quiet. Trying not to be found is more likely. We're heading somewhere where I believe I am not welcome.
Well, then, I suppose we are partners in that, at least. Being somewhere we're not welcome.
She looks at you for a moment. This is your ears. I didn't see them before. You look like an elf.
Well, yes, I do look like one.
Then maybe we can come to an agreement. I'm going to an elven sacred place. I'm sure that if I have an elf accompanying me, things might go smoothly, or smoother than what I'm expecting.
It would depend on whether or not they've heard of me.
I don't even know if there's people where we're going.
Oh, well, then it should be fine in that case.
It's just And I want to end up a porcupine with 50 elven arrows in my back as I'm doing something very, very non-violent.
Non-violent, but it does seem a bit daring nonetheless.
Well, you've seen what I'm transporting. But come, we've tarried long enough in the swamps, and I don't want the stench of this place on my boots. I've been in enough shit for the rest of my life.
Oh, given the grace with which you carry yourself, I doubt any stench could possibly linger upon you.
Wow. Very wise bird. But no, I'm human like everybody else. I put my pants on one leg at a time, and when I'm cut open and lay dying on the battlefield, I will shit myself like everybody else.
And then some bird will likely come along and eat your eyes.
Wouldn't you like that?
Hmm. She like actually looks like she's considering the idea. Says, "No, I think your eyes are too nice to be eaten."
By a bird after my own heart. There's a long line of suitors that you would have to get behind. Come. I'm not gonna
Why would
ask
I
you.
be getting behind them? What would I be doing back there?
She like gives you a small smile. It says, "Come. I'm not going to have you fly after us." I bet it's exhausting to fly. Actually, is it?
Well, it does require quite a bit of wing strength. But once you get a nice glide going, it's extremely pleasant.
Huh. Guess it's kind of like riding. Once you get used to the saddle, I guess. I don't know. I've never flown.
I've never ridden.
Oh, well, I can at least teach you that. We still have quite a ways before we get to the sanctuary.
Well, then we'd best be going.
And we'll fast forward through the week because it'll take a week before you get to the sanctuary. During that time, um, everyone gave you confused look because the queen just like plucked someone out of the swamp and she's like, she's coming with us. But no one's foolish enough to question the queen. And you all make your way at some point through the swamp to a drier stretch of land. It is actually um, from what you've like heard the people speak, this land used to be like dry land. Used to be like hills, rolling hills and all that. And something happened centuries ago, like a landslide almost, and the river just went out of its bed and flooded the entire area, and it's never dried since. One of the rare places where it is still dry is rumored to be Ithlin's resting place. The elven prophet, the one who prophesies the end of the world, among a lot of different things. Um, and the queen is going there because she has been having visions. There needs to be something done with the sword and the place, and she's not sure what. And so she is bringing the sword there, hoping to find some answers, because it's been bugging her, plaguing her dreams, night after night. I don't suppose you would know. Like, she would have asked you at some point. Like, I don't suppose you would know anything about this.
Would I? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know more than any other bird. At least about this.
I see. Well, it was worth a shot. And after a week, you make your way to, well, the sanctuary. It's, picture a low hill with a flat-ish top. And surrounding, cresting the top of that hill, are 5 dolmens.
Dolmens?
Sorry, that's probably a French term. Menhirs. No, that's also a French term. Obelisks of stone.
Okay. So it's like a Stonehenge type deal.
Stonehenge type thing, yeah.
But technically not a henge because Stonehenge is not a henge.
Oh, actually, menhir is even an English word, apparently. Or it just doesn't exist at all. Nice.
I'm just not familiar with it.
And a dolmen is a dolmen. Okay. It's probably like old English, maybe? I don't know.
That's fine.
Whatever. Basically, yeah, it's kind of like Stonehenge, but it's not. And in the center of these 5 obelisks, you have like this thick fog that clings to the ground, even though there's none of it elsewhere. And Maeve says, "Here we are. Now I have no idea what I should be doing." By the time you reach this place, by the way, it is dusk.
Something with the sword, presumably.
Yeah. I figure I can probably just, like, put it in the center, I guess? It's... If you can make me a, magical training check.
Got it. 18.
You recognize this place. It rings. It speaks to you on like a magical level. This is a place of power. This is a place where magic is coalesced. And a place where if you were to spend time in quiet meditation, you could attune yourself to it and gain, like, draw upon the power of the place and use that magic and weave it with yours. In game terms, it basically gives you like a long-lasting buff. And each place of power is attuned to a different element. The elements of this one is the element of air.
How familiar are you with magic?
None, really. Why?
Well, this is a place of great magical power. Should one be able to tap into that power, they would gain a good bit of mastery over the element of air. Do you think I should do it?
I would think that this place would be aligned with water, seeing as how everything is swampy around here, but...
Not this place in particular, though.
Oh. You can surely try if you want to. I mean, that way I'll know if it's safe or not.
And maybe once I'm done, I can teach you. Wouldn't that be an adventure?
I mean, we have been together for a week now. I feel like it would be rude of me not to invite you to court.
What is court like?
Ugh. It's like a battlefield where people wield looks and whispers like one would a sword and a shield. It's, well, like vultures.
Mm.
Except you also have the fun stuff. You have the feast, you have the entertainment, you have comfort whenever you need it. Things brought to you if you need to. It's got its perks, surely. I'm not big on court life. I'd rather be spending my days traveling the breadth of my kingdom. But I have the feeling that my days of traveling have come to an end. It was hard enough to regain my throne in the last war. I've only gotten it back a few months ago. But that's neither here nor there. Do what you need to do, and we will surely have time to talk. Unless you die. Which I hope you don't.
Well, the thought hadn't occurred to me until just now, so.
I'm fairly certain this place can't be dangerous. It is, after all, the resting place of one of the most hallowed elf in existence.
Oh, I assure you, as someone from nature, I can let you know with a good amount of confidence that every single place has the potential for danger.
And I'll keep an eye out. As you step into the circle, the mist actually parts. Like waves in the sea. They like part, come back, but it never reforms around you. It reforms behind you though, but it always leaves about at arm's length a radius around you where there's nothing. And you can feel the hum of this place like deep within your chest. It tugs at you. It almost, it's grounding you, like making each of your step harder to take, either to tear you away from this place or to get any closer. You can feel the magic. You can feel the call of it. Sorry.
I think at a certain point, even before she's able to get fully into the center of the place, she might start feeling a bit overwhelmed by the need to try to connect to this magic, and she will probably like kneel down on the ground and place a hand on the grass and close her eyes and take one long, deep breath and then let it out slowly and sort of whisper like a little calming mantra to herself that she learned from her the person that trained her, and clear her thoughts and let as like every single internal part of her just sort of melt into the magic, if that makes sense.
Yep. It takes 3 heartbeats. And then you feel the surge of energy, like lightning, just course through you. It begins at the tip of your fingers, the tip of your toes. And it goes in and like closes in on your heart rapidly, like static. And you can feel your heart just like pump all the harder. And you feel yourself like awaken just like suddenly. Any tiredness from the road has just disappeared. Your hair begins to stand on end as you feel like oxygen, like ozone in the air. You can, if you want to, draw forth again. Right now, I can tell you what happens mechanically. You just gain 10 XP to learn any air spell of your choice. It's like 10 free XP. But it can only go to learn an air spell. You can keep it if you don't want to learn a novice spell, and then pour in like actual XP later to learn like a higher level spell. Or you could try to basically get more out of this place.
I don't really have a novice spell in mind right away. So I think Venn will like take a moment and draw a deep breath and try to assess things before proceeding further. She wants to sort of get a sense of how the magic and energies in this area are reacting to her. Does that make sense?
Yes, I would say make a spellcasting check, but you also have a +2 because of where you are.
Oh. She's very curious, but she's also very cautious. 21.
Okay, so you can ask me 4 questions. Whatever they are, I will answer with the truth.
Would drawing again be dangerous?
There is a certain danger. There's a check to be made. It's an endurance save. Otherwise, you would take damage. What it would look like in the fiction is right now you're drawing this air magic from this place. At some point, that static electricity is going to turn to lightning. If you can keep it in control, read if you can succeed on the check, you gain more power. Basically, you get another 10 XP. If you fail, then that's going to hurt you.
How difficult do I feel this check might be, roughly?
It's a DC 20.
It's pretty difficult.
Yes. It's I don't know if you've put any points in endurance.
No.
So yeah, like for a regular wizard, it's very hard, like for a mage, to do that a second time. Often you'll succeed through sheer luck more than anything. And then if you do it a third time, it becomes a DC 24.
If I do this and take the damage, do I still get the EXP?
No.
Okay. Do I lose the other EXP?
No, never.
There's a very small chance of me getting this. I'd have to crit, I think, but I want to try.
Sure. So you focus some more, breathe in, and let the magic come to you, and make an endurance check.
15.
Do you still have any luck?
I have some luck. Not not 5. I have 3 luck.
Then, unfortunately, you will take 16 points of damage. And I need to check something about overexertion. I think that's in combat. Because yes, you do take the damage, but also there's something that happens.
Oh no.
And it's based on the element. It's mostly narrative, if you will.
Yes.
Let me just find it. Oh, it's not that bad. You are thrown back 2 meters. As the surge of energy pulses through you, all of a sudden you hear the cackling of lightning, the crackling of lightning, and with a TOW, you're pushed back 2 meters and fall flat on your back.
Actually, I think like while she's moving through the air, she might instinctively turn back to a raven and try to like fly back away further. If that's possible.
Yeah, I'd say make a dodge check, like DC 14, to see how well you. Because, yeah, transforming is okay. It's how well you're gonna pick your flight up.
Yeah. 14.
Yeah, so you turn into a bird halfway through and just begin flying away.
Yeah, like I probably fly back to Maeve and like land on her shoulder.
As she looks at you and like gently put a hand on you. I was like, that was. I don't want that to happen to me. Are you feeling okay?
I'm gonna hop off her shoulder and change back.
What happened?
I got curious. But I should be fine, she says as she casts magic healing on herself to heal like the obvious like lightning burns on her. I assume.
Yeah, it looks like a yeah, lightning burns. You know, like that weird like pattern where you see all of your veins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She casts that on herself and she's like, well, I would assume you're sturdier than I am. You should be fine, given that I am certain that you won't try to just greedily grab at any sort of magic.
I'm hoping not. Like I said, this is just a call to this place. I don't know what the link is between this and she draws the messer and it begins to softly glow like a soft blue light. Like, well, that's strange. It didn't do that before. And her hand begins to shake. Like the sword is becoming heavier and heavier.
Venn is going to hesitantly like place her hand on Maeve's shoulder. Like this would be her first time like daring to even begin to touch Maeve, especially while not a bird. And she will say, well, I believe you need to let the sword guide you, but I will do everything in my power to make sure that you stay safe. I promise you this.
Thank you. And she takes a step forward. And another. And like at some point, she even puts the flat of the blade on her bracer, like on her other arm, to be able to lift it with both arms. And like she takes another step forward. And
Venn
another.
will follow her like one pace behind.
And the mist before parted before you. In the case of Maeve, it's climbing up on her and trying to touch the sword. And she's like, this is so heavy. And she lets it fall, but it never touches the ground. The blade falls through the mist, and you do not hear the clattering of steel or the thud of like the handle on the ground. You just hear like one soft elven word being spoken before the mist itself even retreats into the stones.
Do I know what this word is?
Yes, it is Lilvani.
Lilvani.
Yeah. Name of the goddess of the moon. A deity that was appropriated by the humans from the elves. It's, even for humans, it's an old deity that is not worshipped anymore. You could make an education check if you wanted to know more about it.
Heck yeah, I do. 17.
You recall one place that has a temple of Ilvani. A quote-unquote temple. And it's in the town of Elander. Ellander.
Ellander?
Ellander.
Ender. Okay. Does anything else happen?
No, the mist parts, disappears. The sword isn't there. Maeve is confused, but also relieved. I saw things.
Might one dare to request that their curiosity be indulged?
I saw I saw my kingdom burn like it did. And I saw darkness. I saw someone on a rocky outcropping, wielding my sword, flashing in the moonlight, fighting off some sort of creature. And then I saw everything turn to ice. I don't know what happened. The only thing that I remember that made sense was that I saw you in all of those visions. And yet I don't recall seeing a raven or you as a person when I had to flee Lyria. Were you there?
Was I there?
No, you weren't.
I
It would have.
don't.
It would have been established already.
I don't recall ever being there.
I. I just don't feel the tugging anymore.
As flattering as it is to be or to take such a starring role in these visions, I must say it is quite unsettling. Do you feel anything else in the tugging's stead?
I'm hungry.
Perhaps we should continue our conversation over a meal then.
Perhaps we should. And as you step away, you hear the taunting of a bow. That soft, like leather, stringy sound.
Then would probably immediately try to put herself between the sound and Maeve and ready to cast. Actually, she probably has her bow on her. She's going to draw her bow in that direction.
You hear a voice in Alvin, just from deep in the woods. What are you doing? Helping a Dwan in this place of ours?
We were simply returning something that belonged, and we will take our leave without causing any further disturbance.
Make a persuasion check. This is not full-on verbal combat, but it might turn into.
12. I want to put luck into that.
Go ahead.
I'll straight up put all my 3 remaining luck into that and make that a 15. No.
I'm sorry, but the voice says...
But I'm being nice. We're not doing anything bad.
No. In fact, we're going to turn this into verbal combat. As the person says, this was not your call to make, and the Dwan have no permission to set foot in this holy land. So, verbal combat.
Okay, how do we do this?
You basically use certain of your skills as weapons. You can wield seduction, persuasion, leadership, charisma, deceit, social etiquette, or intimidation. Basically, instead of just rolling like a skill check to beat a DC, you'll have to come up with an argument to match more or less, because we don't have to go into heavy role play if you don't want to, because this is going to be like a small exchange.
Okay.
But let's say that you use persuasion. You will then deal damage to the person. They have like a certain resolve, like an HP, if you will, verbal HP. And by doing so, you cause their resolve to weaken. And when their resolve is completely out, if you've succeeded, then you can, ask me as a GM, like, I want this person to do X, and they'll do it. So you could say, for example, I want this person to leave us alone. And they will have to, because their resolve has been weakened to 0. You can always decide to end this by shooting at the person, initiating an attack, which turns verbal combat into physical combat.
Yes, but I don't know if they're actually alone or not.
There's that. So what would be... We can do it 2 ways. Either you choose the skill first, and then you find like a way to work that in, or you keep talking and we can decide afterwards like which skill would be better suited for what was just said.
Yeah, let's go with the talking one.
Okay.
Mostly because if we went with the I decide first one, I would be tempted to pick social etiquette, which is my highest stat, but I'm not sure how to leverage that in this particular instance.
A good way of putting, like, the example they give for social etiquette is to ridicule someone.
Then does not open with insults.
Okay. So yeah, the person said you should not have brought a Dwan, basically a non-elf, to this holy place.
Well, 'twas not me, or even my companion here, that brought anyone here. It was that which we were delivering to this place that brought us. So if you have an issue, you should take it up with the sword that disappeared into the magic ground. I know that sounds very silly now that I've said it, but that is the situation we have. Trust me, if I were lying to you, I would have thought of something much more clever.
So you are trying to say that a sword, an elven sword, spoke to a non-elf and asked them to come here, of all places in the world. And that would end the round. He is trying to change the subject. That's his defense. So they're going to roll persuasion against... I feel like... Would you say this was an appeal to reason?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so that would be leadership.
Oh, great. Another thing that I don't... Where is leadership?
It's under empathy.
Oh, another thing that I have 0 in, which, I mean, given my argument, makes sense.
It's not like they have a whole lot either.
Crit!
So yeah, roll for crit. So that's a 21, so that's a baby crit. You're gonna add a +5 to your damage. So that's a d10 plus your empathy plus 5.
Ooh. So should I just do empathy save?
To
that?
Yeah, you can do empathy save and then I'll add the... So you rolled a 1 plus 7, that's 8, plus 5, that's 13. They had a resolve of, because we're doing a small combat, 12.
Oh.
So you beat them.
Get wrecked.
What do you want them to do?
I want them to give me their boots.
A weird flex, but okay. They take their boots and they throw them at you.
You've been very rude, so please come out here and at least introduce yourself.
The elf that comes out of the woods is so scarred across the face that they're wearing like a bandana as both an eye patch and a bandana. They've got a few feathers stuck in their hair, pheasant feathers for the most part. A green gambazon under a brigandine and a bow out, which they've not unstrung, but like loosened. They haven't loosed an arrow or anything.
Yeah, she'll relax her bow slowly and say, "Now, what's your name?"
Why should I give you my name? You're friends with the humans.
I'm friends with everyone, and friends know each other's names.
Hmm. I'm Yorvith. That's all you need to know.
Well, Yorvith, you may refer to me as Venn.
And then take your Dwan and their stinking column and leave this place.
Well, of course, we were just about to do that, but I will let you know that this one does not stink.
They all smell the same.
To the untrained observer, perhaps.
I will think of you when they stab you in the back. And he retreats in the woods in like an edgy, walking backwards thing.
And I assure you, I shan't think of you at all.
And you hear like the rustle of leaves and then nothing. Knaves looks at you and says, "There's a bounty on his head."
Oh, why?
It's Yorvith, one of the leaders of the Skoyatel.
I'm not that familiar with them.
Good. I'm not armed enough to go after him. And he's never alone. And she looks around wearily. We should leave this place.
Yes, but let's not make it look like we are in too much of a hurry. They might get suspicious.
Granted. And you both take your leave. We're gonna fast forward one last time. 3 months hence. You have spent quite some time at the court of Queen Maeve. Learned from her books in her library about just any human subjects you wanted to. Be it politics, general education, science, strategy. Alchemy. You came to be known as Maeve's elf friend. And we are going to pick up after these few months. When Maeve calls you into her chambers. It's around midday. You know that she's going to be busy later that night. But why she called you in, you know that there are like some dignitaries coming this night, and it's something that Maeve was not looking forward to. As you enter her quarters, the guards basically open the door for you, announce you, and then shut the door behind. And she says, "Venn, glad you can make it. I hope I'm not keeping you prisoner in this gilded cage."
No. If I had any desire to leave your side, I would have flown away long ago.
And I'm grateful. You've proven to be Very fun to have around.
Well, compared to the people here, that's not very difficult.
No, most of them are boring, to say the least.
I wouldn't be surprised if most of them had never been outside.
No, most of them were spoon-fed from their birth to now, and they haven't met with any danger or hardship at any point in their lives. And yet they believe they know everything. It's even worse with the men.
It's honestly quite terrible with most people.
Is it terrible with me?
Oh no. For all the bad that court holds, the never-ending fulfillment I have from being in your presence far outstrips it.
Is that an attempt at seduction?
Oh, no more than usual, I assure you.
No more than usual. I would think that... I don't know. Actually, I don't know what to think.
You may think whatever you like.
I may think that you're more human than you let on.
I must admit, I'm not entirely sure what that means.
If it helps, I think of you less as a bird and more as a person.
Oh, I'm sure that the bird in me would find that rather insulting.
Yes, but for what I'm about to do, the bird in you better not say a word. And she takes a step closer, like approaches you. And if you would let her, she would grab your hand.
Oh, yes.
And she would take your hand and put it on her hip.
And then Venn would step close. And Kika needs a moment because Kika's kind of flustered.
That's okay, we can fade to black.
Okay.
We don't need anything more than that.
That's fine.
We all know where this is going.
Yes.
So, fade to black. And that actually would be the end of your flashback. Now, there is, like with everyone, a reputation that comes with this. Whether this happened or not is up to you, but the reputation is built upon the murmurs and the rumors that the guards will have started at the court of Queen Maeve.
Now I feel like an asshole for naming the reputation what I named it.
I mean, I like the pun.
Yeah, it's a good pun.
So, yeah, it's the type of thing that would show up as like an achievement in a video game.
Yeah.
So you've got that reputation. Whether it is true or not will remain your secret. That said, thank you everyone for watching. This was late in the doing, partly my fault. I'm very sorry and I apologize to you as well, Kika. I wish I had more time to have done that before. Could you tell us who you are, where we can find you, and what you have going on in your life?
Hey, just like everything?
Well, no, I mean like relevant TTRPG stuff.
I am Kika. I am a role player and tabletop game designer and a bunch of other stuff. You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/KikaVO, and you can get my 2-player short session, no dice required, intimate RPG about communication at my at itch.io/Kika, I think it is, or what is itch anyway? Let me pull this up quick.
Sure.
I always forget the URL. At kika.itch.io, kikka.itch.io, and then it's called A Lonely Haunt.
Check it out. It is amazing. I've played it. That's why I'm saying it.
Yeah. Do you want me to talk about it?
Um. Well, if you can summarize it in 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay, I can do that. It is a little 2-player game where both players are each a ghost that are both haunting the same location, and they have to try to communicate in ghostly ways because they cannot see or hear each other. And I wrote it to sort of express a lot of feelings that I had regarding trying to figure out how to communicate, given that I was homeschooled and as well have neurodivergence, which makes communication difficult.
It's actually, for what I can say about it from the games I've played, an excellent exercise in communication. It's the type of thing that, as a trainer, all of these corporate training on communication and all that. If I could, I would use this game instead. Because yeah,
That's so sweet.
that's how good it is. I had a lovely time playing it, and we're gonna play it on stream too. I just need to make some time for indie game night, and then we're definitely gonna play Lonely Hunt again. On that
For sure.
on that note, thank you everyone for coming. I am Wondering DM, and we will see you again for another Witcher game very soon. Bye bye.